So I was still in Hawaii when the Japanese shook up that place. And during the raid, I was on interior guard duty. My post was at the Officers Club building, and it was sitting in the edge of the golf course. And the corporal of the guard had took us out and put us on post. He had a truckload of guards that he was sticking in a lot of different places. I was the first guard to go on post around the Officers Club, and the shooting started in Pearl Harbor as I was crawling down out of the truck. And I made about one round around the Officers Club building, and there was probably 60 or 80 people out on the golf course already. And a soldier came out of the palm trees on a horse on the opposite side of the golf course from where I was. And as he galloped across the golf course, he was blowing a call on the bugle, which I had been told, but still had no idea what it was. And I hadn't been there but a few minutes, ain't nobody in sight but me. And I saw the first squadrons of airplanes. I couldn't see very low due to the palm grove on the other side of the golf course between me and Pearl Harbor. So the planes was pretty high, but they were still climbing. That was the first run on Pearl Harbor of dive bombers. And they come on out and flew over me. And short while later, I could hear a plane. The Japanese planes whined like a yellow jacket. American plane engines roared. And I could hear a Japanese plane, and the sky was clear, except one little cloud didn't look like it was any bigger than the floor of this house. And the clouds were low there. They was floating in off the ocean where they wasn't very high. And it sounded like he was in that cloud, but I didn't believe an airplane could go around and stay in that cloud. And I kept hearing it, and I kept watching it till it come up till it was almost up over me like this. And that dude was in that cloud. He come out nose down with his guns of firing, machine gun, and it looked like a row of corn coming up down across the golf course real fast where them bullets was hitting in the grass. And as he crossed the street from the end of the golf course, there was a brand new 42 model Plymouth sitting there. And he turned and come back on that Plymouth 3 times. And he riddled it with bullets. And he hit the Signal Corps building. It was a frame building. And just across the Signal Corps building was the guardhouse. And those pilots carried small bombs in their lap. And this pilot had his canopy open, and he just cruising the treetop level. And he threw one of those bombs out at the guardhouse, and he missed it. And it just hit right out on the cement walk in front of the steps into the guardhouse. That guard was standing pretty close by at right shoulder arm, and it blew a little pothole in the cement wall, and some shrapnel hit him, and it took these 2 fingers and a piece of his hand off. So they shoved him across the street into Tripler General Hospital, and they come to the golf course and got me, and I walked that post till about 9:30 that night without even a drink of water, much less something to eat. and the infantry come down from Schofield Barracks and took over the interior guard duty and relieved me. So it was about 3/4 of a mile back to my barracks, and I was going down the street and I saw a light flash in the door of a building 50, 60 yards over, and they had a curtain over the door, and you'd push it sideways and walk in, and that's what I saw, the lights on. But not knowing what it was, I took a chance, went over and went in, and it was a mess hall. So I sat down and ate and had myself a good supper, and I got up and went on over to the barracks, and there was nobody there. It was empty. It was like a big old barn. But nevertheless, I went in, went to bed, and went to sleep, not knowing where I'd go or when. They'd moved out to the tactical position, and I was woke up the next morning about 4:30, and somebody hollering, "Get out of the buildings and get out on the parade ground." And I could hear the roar of aircraft. So I jumped out of bed and slipped my shirt on and started putting my pants on, and it was lightly drizzling rain. And by the time I got out on the golf course, I was dressed. And there were some machine guns firing, but for heaven's sakes, they couldn't even reach up to the cloud. And there was a swarm of those aircraft. They later figured there was 120 of them in formation, but they was above the clouds and they didn't have radars or anything. And I guess they could see mountain tops sticking up out of the clouds around, so they was afraid to come down. They just flew over. It was Japanese planes and went back to their ships.